I, 28 finally got my revenge on my high school teacher who bullied me for years, and tell that I'm a failure. Hey, Reddit! Buckle up for this wild ride because it's a story about bullying, revenge, and some sweet karma. I've been lurking here for a while, but after what I went through, I felt it was finally time to share my experience. So, let's rewind to high school about 10 years ago. I was the quintessential nerd, glasses, braces, and a backpack full of books. I didn't have many friends, and honestly, I was just trying to get through my classes. But then there was Ms. Henderson, my math teacher, who seemed to take a special interest in making my life miserable. I remember one day vividly. I had been working my butt off to prepare for a presentation on quadratic equations. I was so nervous, but I figured I could at least get through it. As I stumbled through my presentation, Ms. Henderson interrupted me, rolling her eyes. "Are you even trying? You know, if you can't handle a simple presentation, you'll never succeed in life. You're going to be a failure." The class erupted in laughter, and I wanted to disappear. I could feel my face burning red, and from that moment on, it felt like I was her personal punching bag. Every mistake I made was an opportunity for her to mock me in front of my peers. "This is why people like you will always be stuck in their parents' basements," she'd sneer. Those words haunted me for years. But instead of letting her crush my spirit, I decided to turn that pain into fuel. After graduation, I committed myself to self-improvement. I dove into my studies, went to college, and busted my butt to excel. I graduated with honors and landed a great job in finance. My first paycheck? 6 figures. But the best part? I discovered that Ms. Henderson was still teaching at my old high school. I felt a surge of anger and determination. I wanted her to see just how wrong she had been about me. I found out that the school was looking for a new principal, so I figured, why not? I applied, using all my experience and passion for education to shine through in my interview. I poured my heart into my application, and after a grueling selection process, I got the job. When I walked into the school for my first day as principal, I couldn't help but smile at how far I'd come. I made it a point to welcome all the teachers and staff, including Ms. Henderson. The look on her face when she realized who I was? Priceless. I could see the confusion, followed by a flicker of fear in her eyes. She tried to mask it with a fake smile, but I could tell she was rattled. During my first staff meeting, I laid out my vision for the school. "We're here to support our students, to uplift them," I said, looking straight at Ms. Henderson, who squirmed in her seat. "We'll foster an environment where they feel safe to make mistakes and learn from them." Over the next few months, I implemented new policies focused on student well-being and positive reinforcement. The students were thriving, but Ms. Henderson was still clinging to her old ways. I could see her getting increasingly frustrated as I received glowing feedback from students and parents about how the school was changing. But I had my eye on her. I decided it was time to address her behavior. One day, I called her into my office for a meeting. As she walked in, I noticed her posture, the way she held her head up high but looked utterly defeated at the same time. I had printed out a copy of my high school yearbook, the one with her smug face all over it, and placed it on the desk between us. "Ms. Henderson," I said, "do you remember this?" I pointed to my picture. "You called me a failure. Look at me now." Her eyes widened as she recognized me. "This isn't about you," she stammered, trying to regain some composure. "You're just trying to prove a point." "No, this is about you," I shot back. "You're still teaching here, and I won't let you continue to belittle students. I issued a warning to all teachers about bullying, and I'll make sure that your behavior doesn't go unchecked." I watched as her bravado crumbled. The tears she tried to hold back spilled over as she muttered, "I didn't mean it. I thought I was helping you." "Helping me?" I scoffed. "You thought humiliating me was helping? I'm putting you on probation, and if I hear of one more incident, you're out of here." After that meeting, things began to unravel for her. She was defensive and distant with her students, and whispers of her past bullying began circulating. The school community was rallying behind me, and I made sure to create a supportive environment where students felt safe and valued. Then came the day I got a call from a concerned parent about Ms. Henderson's behavior in class. Apparently, she had belittled another student for struggling with math, claiming they'd never amount to anything. I had enough. I called her into my office again, and this time I didn't hold back. "No, this is about you," I shot back. "You're still teaching here, and I won't let you continue to belittle students. I issued a warning to all teachers about bullying, and I'll make sure that your behavior doesn't go unchecked." I watched as her bravado crumbled. The tears she tried to hold back spilled over as she muttered, "I didn't mean it. I thought I was helping you." "Helping me?" I scoffed. "You thought humiliating me was helping? I'm putting you on probation, and if I hear of one more incident, you're out of here." After that meeting, things began to unravel for her. She was defensive and distant with her students, and whispers of her past bullying began circulating. The school community was rallying behind me, and I made sure to create a supportive environment where students felt safe and valued. Then came the day I got a call from a concerned parent about Ms. Henderson's behavior in class. Apparently, she had belittled another student for struggling with math, claiming they'd never amount to anything. I had enough. I called her into my office again, and this time I didn't hold back. "Your time here is over, Ms. Henderson," I said, watching her face pale. "I've given you chances, and you've squandered them. I'm letting you go." As she gathered her things, I felt a mix of satisfaction and pity. Watching her walk out, I realized that I had finally taken back my power. A few months later, I received an email from a former classmate who'd heard about my new position and how I had transformed the school. They told me how Ms. Henderson was struggling to find a teaching job after leaving, and the satisfaction I felt was indescribable. Now, I'm focused on making my school a safe space for students, and I'm grateful for the path that led me here. So, Reddit, was I an a-hole for taking my revenge on Ms. Henderson? Or was it just karma coming full circle? Let me know your thoughts. I, 30M, got my revenge on my high school bully. Now I'm the CEO of the company he's been trying to work for. Hey, Reddit. I've been a long-time lurker and finally feel ready to share this story. It's one of those tales that feels unreal, and honestly, I still can't believe it happened. Let's take it back to high school. I was your typical nerd, bookish, shy, and not particularly athletic. I kept my head down and focused on my studies while trying to avoid drawing attention to myself. Unfortunately, my classmate Jake, 30M, who was your classic jock, took it upon himself to make my life miserable. Jake was popular, charming, and athletic, and he used all of that to bully me. It started with harmless teasing, but it escalated quickly. He would shove me in the hallways, throw my books, and even made it a point to mock me during class. The worst moment? During my presentation in junior year, he shouted from the back, "You'll never amount to anything. You're just a nerd." His friends laughed, and I could feel the humiliation wash over me. For years, I suffered in silence, allowing his words to seep into my mind. I often found myself wondering if he was right. But instead of letting his bullying break me, I decided to use it as motivation. I buried myself in my studies, determined to prove him wrong. After high school, I went to a great university, graduated with a degree in business, and got an entry-level job at a startup. I worked my ass off, climbing the corporate ladder, and eventually became the CEO of that very company. My hard work paid off, and I was making serious money. But there was one thing I wanted to do: confront Jake. Fast forward to last year. I was attending a networking event for CEOs in my area when I spotted a familiar face across the room. It was Jake. He looked different, still fit and charming, but there was something off. He was trying to sell himself to other executives, but it was clear he hadn't made it as far as he had hoped. I approached him with a smile, feigning friendliness. "Jake. Long time no see. How's it going?" He turned, and his eyes widened in recognition. I could see the gears turning in his head as he struggled to place me. "Oh, hey, man. You look different," he said, glancing me up and down. "Yeah, well, I've been busy," I replied casually, knowing full well that I was now a successful CEO while he was still stuck trying to impress people at networking events. We exchanged small talk for a bit, and he mentioned he was looking for a new job. I could see the desperation in his eyes, and it felt like sweet revenge. I asked him where he'd been working, and he reluctantly admitted that he'd just been laid off from a mediocre company. "Wow, that's tough," I said, trying to hide my glee. "You know, we're actually looking to expand our team at my company. Maybe you should apply." His face lit up, and I could almost hear the gears in his mind turning. "Really? That would be awesome. I'd love to work for you." I kept my composure while internally reveling in the idea that I was now in a position to help him, but with a twist. A few days later, I had a meeting with my HR team and told them I was going to bring in an applicant for an entry-level position. "His name is Jake," I said, grinning at the irony. "Let's give him a chance." They set up the interview, and I made sure to be there as a formality. When he walked in, I put on my best professional face. The look of surprise on his face when he saw me was priceless. "Wow, I didn't expect to see you here," he said, trying to play it cool. "Neither did I, but I wanted to make sure you got a fair shot," I said, keeping my tone light. The interview was awkward, to say the least. He stuttered through most of his responses, and I could see the tension building in the room. I threw some typical interview questions at him, and with each wrong answer, I could feel the satisfaction bubbling up inside me. "Let's just say that this position isn't for everyone," I said, leaning back in my chair. "We have high standards." After what felt like hours of excruciating back and forth, I finally wrapped up the interview. "Thanks for coming in, Jake. We'll get back to you," I said, giving him a tight smile. In reality, I knew he wouldn't be getting the job. I wasn't even going to let him get to the second round of interviews. I wanted him to feel the sting of rejection, just like I had all those years ago. A few days later, I called him to deliver the news. "Hey, Jake. Thanks for coming in, but we've decided to go in a different direction." The silence on the other end was deafening. "Oh, I understand," he replied, his voice shaking. "Don't worry. There are plenty of other opportunities out there. Keep your head up," I said, struggling to contain my laughter. After I hung up, I felt a rush of satisfaction wash over me. I had taken my power back in the most glorious way. I went on to ensure that my company continued to thrive, creating a positive and inclusive work environment for all employees. And as for Jake? Well, he started reaching out to former classmates on LinkedIn, desperately trying to find a job, while I continued to climb higher in my career. The best part? I got to live every day knowing that I had turned my life around and proved him wrong. So, Reddit, was I an a-hole for enjoying my revenge? Or was it simply karma coming full circle? Let me know what you think.